Hi everyone, we're back at it for week 2 of the season of heart, working with old photos, inks, and something transparent. Now, since the techniques I've used are already available to you online, I just wanted to at least share a few stories of how these pages came about. There's a funny story behind these tape transfers. The day I pulled these together was the same day Claudette told me that she was starting a YouTube series on transfers, starting with tape transfers. Who knew? And I didn't even think about using them specifically for this week, but I got to thinking of the theme of hand and heart, especially when I was looking at the clothesline images. They reminded me that tending a home is something that takes a lot of heart. And wouldn't you know it, while I was snipping magazine images, I came across the perfect quote for these pages without looking for it. Things were falling into place quite nicely. So I pulled from my stash of what I call lost relatives that I keep in a vintage glove box. There were plenty of great pictures, but I thought it would be best to use a black and white photo, not only to support the visual contrast, but to convey the contrast of time. After gessoing the pages, I pulled vintage ephemera, and I was really inspired by a technique that I learned from artist Monica Huculak. I hope I'm pronouncing her name right. She was a teacher over at Wanderlust 2020, but if you don't have that class, you're in luck. She has a YouTube channel, and I'll list it below. For my ink application, I used Liquitex in muted green and transparent burnt sienna. Just use equal parts. I used 3 drops of each and added some water to create it. And it's really easy. I like this, what I'm calling a vintage green color. And then you'll notice I also used little tones of pink and turquoise, which were watercolors. And I added that once the ink wash was dry. And lastly, I took a strip of old worn velvet with a piece of vintage netting and stitched it to the left side of the torn edged photo. I used gel medium to glue the transfer down as well, then created the quote using cut words and letters. To be honest, I wanted to write out the quote, but you have to remember this is a 5x5 journal, 5.5x5 journal, and I think this makes a bigger impact. I really love collaging the words and phrases. And that's it. Thank you so much for following along, and I hope that if you decide to also use these elements this week, be sure to tag us. And until next week, take care and stay creative. Bye everyone.